That's right, like every other good villain, it's been resurrected from the dead. Welcome back to the Rancor Pit. Yes, I know it's been since forever since I did any kind of uploading at all. And my minuscule and meager fan base asked about it last session, so... Well, I didn't really have anything topical to speak about, and I got tons of NPCs that I could talk about again, but I'd rather go ahead and catch my devoted but small fan base up to what's been going on with me and with gaming and with just things in general. We've got back to gaming earlier this year, and it was a really long hiatus this time. And I tried basically to get away from gaming and pick a new hobby, but in all seriousness, I shouldn't have done that, and how I acted was childish, to put it mildly. And we did get back to it, and consistently it was one game a month. Not ideal, but it is what it is. We were occasionally able to catch 2 games a month, which was really nice. It just kept things, fresh in people's minds and whatnot. I added a few new players, and I've still got a couple more to introduce once we get back to it after the new year, actually, because December just seems to be too chaotic to do anything. So I've got my new guys already like 3 sessions in, I think it is. I got one waiting to join. I got a couple waiting to join as well, and I'm still trying to make things work so that I can get my beautiful wife to join as well, and she's been wanting to. It's just time, and then the monsters are 2 monsters. So we'll work on that anyway. But Heroes and Villains next year, April. March or April, one of the two, will enter its 3-year mark, which is kind of impressive, especially for me, with what started out as a 2-player and my NPC Origins game. So it's gone from that to like between 5 and 9 players if I can get everybody sat down finally. Instead of doing it piecemeal, this. That's why originally I had broken up into 2 fully Origin separated but behind the scenes connected campaigns that I named Heroes and Villains for the main one and Who's the Master for the second. And some of the characters that were made for Who's the Master have ended up in Heroes and Villains due to my planar reshuffling technique that I've used several different times, much to the chagrin of a few of my players. The universe just had to brain fart her their colorful language in order to introduce in or take characters out so that I can keep things moving when people don't show up or can't show up for a while or have to reschedule or whatever, I introduced a number of new NPCs for behind-the-scenes stuff. I still have my favorites. I still have Sungo, my halfling war mage. That's Sungo Brewweed, for those of you who haven't watched my previous videos. Sungo Brewweed. I have Garnet of House Porter. He was my original character, and he is a human cleric of St. Cuthbert, cleric war priest, as a matter of fact. I have him. I have... let's see, Yizik, which is a Poison Dusk Lizard folk ranger. I don't think I did any prestige class with him. I'm pretty sure I didn't. He's one of my favorites too, just for his comedic relief at the very least. It's a tiny dragon who is like a howitzer whenever it comes to range weaponry. I have him. I have several others. One of which I used as a kind of a plot device. It was a imp. Was he an imp? That doesn't sound right. I had a demon. I think it was a demon. No, that would have been a devil, wouldn't it? Anyway, it was in a small extraplanar being that I had who I actually gave levels to. and he's been kind of popping up here and there for little bits and pieces of plot hook and device and whatnot. I have Smoke, who I used. He's a fire muffling Malconvoker, sorcerer Malconvoker, who had gone through some willing deformities for his hands. So I always, every time I play him, he's always like wringing his hands because they're in pain, right? He was done against his will. So he has really nice claw attacks for a little being, but he's always in pain and wringing his hands and looking kind of like nefarious or mischievous at the very least. And he was good to use. I had Rayvar Glaven show back up, and anybody who's watched my previous vlogs knows that his original name was Wolfbait because he was almost eaten by wargs. And he's shown up, gone away, now shown up again, and seemingly on the wrong side of things. He's seemingly a antagonist now, especially with the way he acted our last big session when everyone was around. I also have a number of the other ones that I've made recently. Let's see. The chief to the Black River tribe, Barbarians, I finally statted, and he ended up being a Barbarian Bear Warrior. And that was kind of cool to do. And what else do I have here? Huh. Oh, right, the one that they're going to run into in short order. Where they were last session, they came back across the planar rift from the outer plane of Baator, of Hell, essentially. And they came back to Material Prime 1. It's split and then splintered for time's sake. They came back to Material Prime 1. They're going to run in eventually to a knoll that I created that's a Ranger variant, so it has no spellcasting ability. Ranger variant, Fist of the Forest, and Forest Reef combination. Kind of cool. I'm going to use him as another plot device. And then the one I made recently came from inspiration that I found on Reddit that I was cruising through our character drawings. And this person, it wasn't really a drawing, it was just, it was either our character drawings, our D&D, or our Dungeons & Dragons. I can't remember which one it is. Anyway, it was a hand-painted miniature that was an ogre with a simple white tunic, breeks, sandals, of all things, carrying a keg like this over one arm, and like dark goggles, which would be sunglasses, essentially. And I looked at that, and I looked at all the variants of all the other ones that were posted. He had like Hawaiian shirts, and it was like Breast Cancer Awareness Month shirts, so it was pink and black. And it had all these really cool variants, and I looked at it, and I said, no, I have to. I'm going to contact the artist and inform him of what I did. I was just using it for the purposes of a visual that I could put up on the TV, but I actually had the inspiration enough to stat that. And the creator, the painter, I should say, originally named it the Party Ogre. So I said, screw it, I'll run with it. So he ended up being a redeemed villain ogre, and if anybody knows what that is, it comes out of the front of the Book of Exalted Deeds. And that's whenever a monster normally associated with being evil in every particular specific way ends up going through massive and intense life-changing events, and it shifts their alignment more for good, obviously, for playability. The example in the book was a Lithid that was captured and was not intentionally reformed, but saw kindness from what they would have considered lower beings, and then came back as basically a monk. So no more evil. He is a redeemed villain ogre. Six fat levels worth of ECL. It cost me, but I mean, I'm still playing with, well, in his case, it's 18 levels. The rest of the party's all 17th, but they're going to level relatively soon. 2 levels of monk and 10 levels of tattooed monk. I juggled with what I was going to make him. I didn't want to make another hulking hurler. I got one of those. I got a Minotaur ECL low-level bard and hulking hurler, or mid-level bard, I think. Pardon me, I'm dealing with a cough. I didn't want to make him a hulking hurler. I sifted through like 10 different combinations I could have made him, and I thought, I really have never done a tattooed monk. So, redeemed his backstory. It's long, and I don't have the throat for it, at least this session. Maybe I'll talk about him later in future broadcasts. And next time we actually game, I'm going to live stream through YouTube as opposed to doing it through like pictures and snippets through Twitter. But I'll cross post as much as I can anyway. Next time, I think I'll talk about him because they met him for the first time. They helped break him out of the slave caravan that he was caught in, and he's going to end up helping. And we'll see what the people think about him. Tattooed monk, tattooed monk. It was a really nifty concept that just kind of popped into my head. He doesn't have many possessions whatsoever, just because it's kind of the way I made him on purpose. He has a lot of utilitarian stuff. The funniest thing about him is that not only did I give him True Believer to Yandala, of all people, to the halfling goddess of the forest, but I also gave him the cornucopia of the Needful, which is Yandala's relic, and he's actually a helpful kind of a guy. And I made part of his stick is that he carries around a corrupted, what did I say? It was a portable hole. No, it wasn't a corrupted. It was a modified and a bastardized Mastercraft alchemist lab. He can't use a regular alchemist lab, but that was specifically for the purpose of him having that in a portable hole with, let's see, what else did I give him? Decanter of Endless Water, a Darren's Instant Fortress, but I had the top hatch permanently removed because it's made out of wood. The rest is made of adamantine, and he always deploys it upside down. So, pardon me again. So that whenever he drops his portable hole with this still alcohol brewing still inside of the portable hole, he can pop the Darren's Instant Fortress upside down, so that it'll be right on top, and he can climb up because he's so big and strong, right? He can climb up to the door, he can open it, get through, come down, and uses it basically as a still hut. I gave him slippers, flip-flops of spider climb so that he can climb up and climb out and climb in. Let's see, I gave him a huge handy haversack, so he has all of his good stuff in there. A good berry bracelet, because he can either use that as components for the brewing, or he can help people with it. Caedmon's ointment, I gave him that because he's helpful. Survival pouch, he'll always have the ability to have like a campfire for the purposes of brewing. I did give him a shift weave, which is an item out of the MIC, the Magic Item Compendium, but I made it cursed so that it can only produce endlessly random Hawaiian shirts and matching breeches, or breeks. And I did that just so I could keep him looking exactly the way, so that way he wouldn't appear always in the same clothing, but he would definitely appear not in the noble clothing that the shift weave was originally created for. He has one real companion, and its name is Beaky, and it's a figurine of one under his power is a silver raven, and Beaky helps with gathering components for brewing and stuff, right? So the cornucopia to the Needful, when he's not helping people, he's using it as brewing components, so he pops it whatever comes out of the day. He has True Believer. He has the ability to have the much more fruit available for the different effects. Pop them into the still and brew up all kinds of alcoholic goodies. Yeah, and I gave him the goggles of Beguiling. I took the goggle, it was the Eyes of Charming, and I upped it to go from let's see, what was it? Charm Person to Charm Monster. I essentially created just a bigger version of the original Eyes of Charming. Charm Monster, normally at will, DC 19. Nothing huge for the DC, because it was always going to be really expensive otherwise. But yeah, he'll be a very interesting NPC once I can get him more integrated, and I'll keep him, I think, on Material Prime and not traveling with the group. Like, Smoke helped a lot when they were in Baitor, when they were in the Dis. And his intervention helped them actually get a hold of another one of the pieces of the Diabolic Arsenal. But afterwards, I pretty much said that, the Outer Planes were getting too hot for him to be in, and every time that he summons a devil or a demon, he promises him a whole bunch of power and access to stuff. He uses them, and then, of course, banishes them, right? Which is going to piss off a lot of Outer Planes beings. So I had him basically say, I'm taking a break, I'm getting out of Dodge, and I'm going to the Plane of Fire for a while, and I'll hang out there because I have no problem with it, and we'll see if things metaphorically cool off anyway. So I have, I named them too. Nedakeg, 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 because, I'm goofy. But anyway, I have a lot of NPCs that I have still yet to use that I have made. I am doing, or at least I was doing, a sub-storyline with Sungo and his new traveling companion, which is a scout, a very high-level scout, named Elias Hart. Another one of my friends is playing him, who's a part of the big game too, but I didn't want to, remove Sungo permanently, because I like him too much. And he's a crowd favorite, because every time he shows up, somebody's getting blasted with his evocations, so... Anyway, yeah, I thought I'd do kind of just a blanketed update of how things are going. We had our game in the early part of this month, and I was trying to do it again in the early part of December. It's just not going to work. So we will pick up Heroes and Villains. I'm going to try for the second week of January. I'm still doing it on Sundays, especially now considering that I am getting my B license and driving school buses for one of the local companies in the area. I'll do Monday through Friday work. I'll have the weekends off. I have Christmas off, this, that, and the other. It'll all be nice and uniform that I can work with, and I can do this job and then go back to managing the Port Hope Drive-In in the summer with no problems, because I won't be driving buses at that point. So it'll all work out good. And yeah, so we will get back in the new year, probably the second weekend, probably. But until then, I won't be doing any more videos, because it was like a long wait for this one. But like I said, I didn't really have anything else to talk about besides the updates. So until then, when I can get back to it, and what I'll probably do is do the go live on YouTube, and then if I don't have any kind of particular subject matter, maybe a week or two after the game, I'll do one of the Rancor Pit videos. So. Nasty coughed, King of One takes. Anyway, so until then, grab your dice and roll initiative.